We are live. Welcome, Real Estate Exam Study Group. Happy almost Labor Day weekend. We got a special guest today. Dylan Cavinee is in the house. Dylan is actually on vacation, so he's going to take us some time aside on his vacation to hang out with us and give us a little bit insight on him just passing his real estate exam the very first time, so good job. So we're going to talk to Dylan about some tips and tricks that helped him pass his real estate exam and much, much more right after this. All right, Dylan, thanks for joining.
Hey, no problem. I'm good.
Dylan's on vacation this weekend, and I wanted to try to catch him, but it was too late. He was already gone. So, but it's nice that you're taking the time to come and hang out with us and give us some good insight. So now this is live, everybody. If you're watching this live, if you have any questions for Dylan, you can put them in the comments below, and we'll answer them in real time. And now a lot of you will watch this after because a lot of people are probably at work. Put comments in, and Dylan or myself will be happy to answer those for you. So let's get started first. Dylan, tell us a little bit about you, where you live, what's going on in your life, and the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Southeast Ohio. Recently relocated to Northwest Ohio after I've done my traveling throughout the country and experiencing life. I work full time, and a couple months ago I decided to follow up on a lifelong dream of getting my real estate license. So I joined Hondros and successfully passed my first try, and now I'm here with you practicing real estate, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. So Dylan, you went through Hondros, awesome,
Indeed,
right? Not being biased or anything. So, but I didn't teach Dylan. He did everything online, right? You did 100% online.
I did, yes, I did all of my courses and everything online.
Okay. How long did it take you when did you start, crack open the first module? How long did it take you kind of start to finish?
I was pretty lucky. I actually had a week paid vacation off, and I actually decided to get all my stuff that weekend. So I had that whole week where I was getting paid to sit there and study, basically. So I really put in a lot of work that first week. So it took me probably a full month of reading the material just to fully understanding it, rereading some parts that I kind of needed some more education on, but about 3 to 4 weeks to read through all the material without doing any of the practice tests or anything.
Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah. The nice thing about self-paced is that you can get through it probably a little faster because if your pace is quicker, now, and sometimes it works the opposite. Since it's your self-paced, it might take longer because you got to be diligent and disciplined and things.
Very disciplined on yourself. If you're doing a self-paced, like I said, again, I was lucky to have that whole week off in which I was getting paid. So I think that pushed me further to just really get it done in that time. But after I got that first big chunk done and I started getting my first certificate, it really pushed me on. So it really gave me a motivational essence about it to just keep pushing on and keep grinding. So
yeah, good job. Yeah, you did a great job too. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got through it really, really fast. I mean, you can get through it fast, but you got to still retain the knowledge.
That's the thing. You got to have there's a very fine balance of going too far. And that's one thing I would recommend if you're self-pacing is realize when you're rereading the same paragraph over and over again to understand what you're trying to remember. If it gets to that point, just set the book down, take a break, and then come back when you're fresh, or you're going to waste time. And it's going to be very discouraging when you have to go over it and reread material. And then you're just going to kind of lose that excitement about the whole thing. If you just get it done the first time and retain all that knowledge, you don't have to go back and reread everything again. So
yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, you can just study too much, or I think it's just not exciting or fresh or anything. So and it's a timing issue. You can't wait too long with it, and you can't push through it too quick. And you're right. There's a system behind it, and that that's something that we came up with our exam prep that I over the years learning about timing and things. So what did you do the CompuCrammer, or did you do the crammer for people at home once you were finished with your modules? What did you do?
the CompuCrammer was, I think, very vital to my success and passing the real
Okay.
estate exam. So
Got it. Okay.
I paired that, and I also got the PSI practice exam, the $50 one. I figured I could use those two tools to read the information and the questions I'm actually going to see phrased in the way they're going to be phrased in the exam. So I felt like that was very beneficial. And with my CompuCram, I would go through until I could answer every question 100% of each category. And that really, really helped me a lot on the test because, like I said, the terms were phrased the same way as they were in the CompuCrammer. So I was able to relate that information on the exam. It really helped.
Okay. So you did the CompuCrammer with Hondros.
Yes.
Then you did the PSI exam.
Yes. The
Prep
one with
with
the 500 national questions that they rotate through, and they have a test portion on the PSI exam that as soon as you answer a question, it's going to give you the result. And then if you miss that question, it's going to give you an explanation of why you missed that question.
Yeah.
So that was really nice information to have. Instead of doing the practice exams on Hondros, I did those at the very, very end last because yes, they are really nice. They had the exam questions, but I didn't know right away that I was right or wrong. So then I got through to read to see that I was right or wrong at the end. I'd kind of already lost that initial information that I needed to keep
Okay.
in there at the end. And as opposed to the PSI, I had that information right away. So I was able to correct my mistake right away. And then that kind of conditioned me to remember the things that I needed to remember a little better.
Okay. So, all right. So the PSI is nice because it gave you instant feedback. And then you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. So, because we get that question a lot in the study group is, what's better, the PSI or CompuCram? And I guess
Both.
I'll ask you, Dylan, you think they're pretty equal?
I think that using both tools together,
Okay.
that's what really made me feel comfortable when I went in and sat for my exam, is because when I sat down, the very first question was exactly the same wording and phrasing of the question I had on both the PSI and on the CompuCram. So as soon as I read the question, like all the terminology that I need to remember just popped right out to me because I'd already seen it before in multiple different areas. So
Yeah.
I think using those two tools together really helped me. And the reason I justified it is because it's expensive to sit for your exam and your application. You're going to be spending that money every time. So I figured I might as well just spend the money up front, pass this exam the first time, and then just move on, just get it over with. So that's the reason I justify doing that, at least.
Okay. No, that's good feedback. Yeah, nothing's worse because if you pass the state but fail the national, you got to do the whole thing, meaning the whole money again, the $81
and then waiting and everything.
The 2 weeks of waiting. So yeah, I mean, if you either go pass it all or you go through it again. Now, if you pass the state and fail national, when you go back, you only sit for the national. I think some people don't maybe understand that or not. But I got this question this week was like, oh, well, we heard that if you pass the state, not the national, everything's half off. You know, you're no, it's not. It's all the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Again. So that's good.
I know some locations might allow you to pay for just the national. I did think I saw that during my PSI testing, but not the place that I went. So I will say, though, one thing about the CompuCram and the PSI practice exams, I don't feel like the PSI practice exams prepared me for the state exam. I really relied on the CompuCramming for that. The very bottom 5 categories of the CompuCramming is all state correlated stuff about, like the division and the superintendent who handles what and all that stuff. So that's where I got that knowledge from, was the CompuCrammer, because the PSI doesn't have that kind of testing. They just have the national. So that's one information I'll give to people if they are going to look towards PSI exams for practice tests, is they don't supply a state test. So it is only national. So
yeah. So you thought the CompuCrammer was better for the state portion?
Yes, the very five bottom categories are all going to cover everything that is state related on the CompuCramming, and each one has like 20 questions. A couple have 5, but again, I would just go through until I was getting 19 or 20 out of 20 every time. And it generates different questions. So you're not going to go in there and be able to memorize the question, because it generates different questions almost each time. So if you can go in there and you can answer 18, 19, 20 in a row consistently, it's going to prepare you so much for the exam, because like I said, when you go sit in your exam, it's going to be worded the same way as you're seeing it in the CompuCram. So it's going to be very, very useful tool.
Okay. Excellent. Is there anything that you studied, Dylan, that you're like, man, I wish I didn't waste my time on that. It was kind of a waste.
A few things maybe is I think some of the formulas that I learned, expecting to see them a lot, I kind of really stressed myself out on it because I figured I was going to go in there and I was going to have all these math questions. I memorized almost every formula possible. But if you can remember IRV, pretty much that's going to get you through your math part of the portion of the exam. If you can just remember the IRV chart, income over rate and value, I think that'll be just enough to get you through almost the whole math portion of the test.
Okay. Did you have, well, let's talk about math. We're a good segue, Dylan. Nice work. You're going to have to host this show next time. How many math questions did you have? Do you remember?
Man, I know I had one that was really hard. That was like a conversion, and it was pretty difficult. But I think I had like 3 or 4 that were related to a rectangle block survey. So like calculating down from 640 acres to a certain point. I think I had 2 or 3 of those,
Really?
which were pretty easy. Yeah, for some reason I had a lot of those in my test, and then I had
Weird.
I had maybe 2 that had to do with income rate and value, like the capitalization rate. So, I mean, I would say probably 6, 7, 8 total.
Okay.
But I used a calculator for maybe 2 of them. Like I said, that income over IRV was really important for me to pass. I think that was the other. I wouldn't read the whole math book or go too stressed too much about the math portion, especially if it's not a category that you're strong in. Just sharpen up your skills in all your other categories, and you would survive the exam for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good, because a lot of people get overwhelmed by the math portion.
Yes.
And then,
don't.
Oh, go ahead, Dylan.
I just want to say, yeah, don't let that. If you're struggling on that portion of the exam, don't let it discourage you on the overall feeling towards the test, because like I said, you can go in there, get 50% of the math, and still be in a really good place to pass the exam.
Yeah, I mean 50%. I mean, you might have had 8, Dylan. Maybe I didn't see your test score, but like say you had 8, you got 4 out of 4. That's not too bad.
Yeah,
really, that's not too bad. But you can lose up on a lot of other stuff. So,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, we have several live viewers right now. If you have any questions for Dylan, we are live, so you can put that in the live chat. That's below, and we'd be happy. Here's one coming through now, and it says, how about final exam on the books? Is that useful?
Yes, I use that very, very last, like I said, because I wanted to you do the PSI exams and then do the CompU cramming, so I could get firsthand response that I was wrong, so I knew why I was wrong right away, so I could fix my mistake. Using those final exams at the very end after I felt really confident really helped me feel more confident, because I was passing them and I was able to go back and see my mistakes on paper, reread the question again, and then see why I missed it. Because a lot of times it's just, what's good about doing those exams is they're trying to put words in there to purposely confuse you. So it's going to train you to pick up on what they want you to read. They want you to read certain parts of questions. You have to understand what they mean for you to read. So seeing it over and over again is really nice. So yeah, I would suggest doing those final exams when you feel really confident in the material, so it doesn't discourage you, and it just gives you a really good place of where you're at.
So you, when you were saying, were you referencing like double negatives, and which one is the best or the least?
Yes,
or something like that.
those, yes, all of those connotations. Yes.
Yeah. Did you? Next question I always ask is: do you think you're a fast test taker, Dylan, or slow?
If I feel confident, I normally try to go pretty fast. I don't. Okay. I've noticed that's just me as a test taker. I've always been that way, especially if I am really recently studied on it and I feel confident. I don't like to let myself second guess. I've always been, if I believe it's to be true, then it probably is. So I'm just going to go with it instead of sitting here and thinking on it and pondering like, and overthinking is critical for me. I'm an overthinker, so I don't take too long in each question, or I'll overthink it and end up getting it wrong. So
Mm-hmm. Did you have so? Okay, so you're saying, yeah, I'm pretty solid. I'm pretty steady. Did you have plenty of time to take the test?
Yes. I went in. I had very few people in there. I never felt rushed. I did look at the clock about halfway through, and I still had over an hour of time left. So I
Wow.
felt,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
would
are
say
fast.
probably a third of the way through. Yeah, I had almost an hour left. So I was like, oh wow, if I really needed to, I could definitely sit here and take my time.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing with me too is I knew I had to take the state portion next. So I didn't, like I said, I felt confident. So I wanted to move along at a pretty good pace. So I didn't drag it out. And then I'm in there for 2 hours trying to finish my state exam, just like
Yeah.
saying, oh my gosh, I want it to be over with already. So
Yeah. And you took yours in Troy, Ohio.
I did, yes.
Yeah. And I don't know. Can you tell us now? This would be for dating agents, maybe too. How was the Troy office? Just out of was it cold, hot?
It was
Like
actually really comfortable. So
was it? Okay.
yeah, they have, it's all clean. It's just a tiny little building. So there wasn't, like I said, that many people there. So I was checked in pretty quickly, and I was in my testing area, and it was really comfortable. They had really comfortable chairs, and everything was clean and bright. So it felt like a good space to take the test. And it was nice because like I didn't have to drive into Columbus that morning on Saturday and
Yeah.
deal with traffic. And I was checked in very quickly. So I was able to not be sit there and get really nervous for my test. I feel like that helped me out a lot.
Good. Okay. Yeah. No traffic. And because you didn't go, one thing I always say is like, go to it, go to the location, check it out before your test. You didn't, but you Google mapped it
I
really good,
Google
right?
Maps it.
Yeah. I
Absolutely. You
remember
have
talking about
to. Absolutely have to.
Yeah. That way you
Yeah.
knew exactly where to go. Yeah.
It just alleviates all of the stress of the morning. Because when I pulled in there, I was kind of worried because I said to be there half hour early, and I didn't know how strict they were on that. So I got there, and then it wasn't where I thought it was on Google Maps. It was on the other side of the building. So I actually, showed up a little early, and I still couldn't find it, even though I looked on Google Maps right away. So I was like, oh no, like this place is supposed to be right here, I promise. And I was kind of got a little nervous and at the
Yeah. It's
beginning.
scary.
So yeah,
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. You're stressed out for your exam. And yeah, I mean, I can tell you guys, every site, that testing center is kind of an obscure place. It's not like McDonald's where you drive down the road.
there's no golden arches to
Yeah,
lead
there's
you there.
none. It's like back in some office complex, and you got to park in the back. And I mean, it's always like that. They're nice centers and stuff, but sometimes they're hot and cold. And I always like to ask that question, like, what was the feeling of it? But it is, really make sure you know where you're going, because nothing's worse than you get in, like you're cutting it close, there's an accident, and you're cutting it close and you don't know where to go, and it just sets everything off on the wrong. So I've got another question here, Dylan. It says, so is PSI testing worth it for the national?
Absolutely.
So,
yes,
yeah,
100%.
you kind of answered that earlier.
Yeah, for sure. You guys can rewatch it, but I'll just say it again to reiterate. The PSI for the national paired with the CompuCramming is going to give you a level of confidence that you can just go into the test and sit down and know exactly what to expect. I really believe that PSI is what gave me the confidence to go in there and just pass the first time.
Yeah. I think so. It's for $50. It's not too bad. One thing I always like about PSI is that they emulate the format of the test.
Yes.
So like, it's kind of like so when you sit down for the real exam, the real one, like you're going, like, there's like a little learning curve. You got to know what buttons to push and where your timer is at.
Right.
That kind of stuff. There's like a slight learning curve. It's not super difficult, but when you have the PSI study, the one that you buy for $50, it looks just like your test. So it's kind of like, it's like brain muscle memory.
Yeah. Conditioning yourself to expect what to see, for sure.
Yeah. And Hondros is much sexier. That's what I always say. Like, oh, Hondros is it's got cool turquoise colors and it looks really nice, but it doesn't emulate the feel and the look of the real PSI test. And I always think that's kind of an advantage, is, that PSI test kind of conditions you to test drive it.
For sure.
It's like, test driving it before you actually do it. So, But well, great. Any other feedback at all? We're never going to ask you what you got. Clearly, you passed. And you passed
I don't even know. I have no idea.
6 days ago. Funny story for him. Can I tell the story about your at the end? Is that
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dylan texts me Saturday. I'm like, how did it go? How did it go? Right. I'm nosy guy. And he says, I don't know. I clicked out of it before I saw the results. And I was like, what are you talking about? How is that possible? So I was like, Dylan, did the guy or gal, whoever's there, like, did they make sure you left? Because my worry was you clicked out too soon or something.
Yeah.
And he didn't, you were excited. So I said, well, we'll just have to wait. They'll email you the results. And so we waited, and I was like, Sunday, hey, you get anything yet? No.
Nope.
And I'm like, man, something's bad. I don't like this. And long story short, on Monday, there's a way I could check some things, and he passed. So we don't know what he got, and I'm never going to ask you, and I don't care. So
like I said, I don't even know myself. I never even received any information on it, so I have no idea. It's in the past now, and I'm not going to worry about it.
It doesn't make a difference, man.
Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I can always tell everyone on the study group that it doesn't make a difference how well you do on the test as long as you get a 70 plus. It doesn't make you a better realtor.
Nope, it's not going to change anything about that.
Worse realtor. Yeah. We have another question. It says, have you seen similar questions? Have you seen
from your study material? Thank you so much for this.
Have you seen similar questions on the test from your study material? Thank you so much for the live. Thank you.
Yes. Like I said earlier, the Compute Crammer is also going to kind of put questions in the way that you're going to see on the exam. So like I said, again, those two things are hugely vital for passing your test, I think.
Okay. Excellent. So, all right. Well, Dylan, thanks so much. Thanks for joining on his vacation.
No problem. I'm glad I could help.
Allen County right now. You don't live there, but he lives up in Northwest Ohio. And I'm really excited to get you started. We're excited to get you on your path of real estate. You're going to do great. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So I think that is it from any more questions going once, twice. All right. That's it, guys. Realtor at Ashmont Realty. Thanks for joining. Have a wonderful Labor Day, everybody.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Coming up on the Ashmont Realty Live podcast here in about an hour. So if anyone wants to jump on and talk real estate, let us know. So have a wonderful Labor Day, Dylan. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
No problem. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, guys.